Hey everybody, welcome back. My name's Charles. Thanks for tuning in. Been a while. A lot of this last month and a half has been Halloween related, and I didn't want to put anything on this channel. I didn't want to spoil anything for the local people that were going to be able to come and see it. So I'm sorry. I do have the other channel that I didn't really get a lot of behind the scenes stuff on yet, but I will, eventually have more of that. But that's kind of why there hasn't been a lot going on here. Is just I've just been balls to the wall busy over there. Anyway, now that we're not, I wanted to do a couple things. So before I get into one of the projects that I did over the last few weeks, and we'll kind of go back and forth with some footage, I'll just kind of talk about it a little bit. But before we do that, we're going to head over to the house and we're going to clean up some trees and just kind of touch on like springtime plans and stuff like that. So I'll see you when we get over to the house. We'll go through that and then we'll come back and I'll talk over what we did here that was, more accomplishing than just cutting down some trees. We're doing some cleanup today while it's sunny out and not snowing. So I figured the first thing I'll do is show you the obvious. Now I'm a Batman fan, so I dubbed the hard tree dent because there was a tree. Trees are generally hard, and that's the dent that the tree left. So as you can see behind me, the tree is gone. My dad came over just the other day and we took this down the rest of the way. Now last week I started trimming it a little bit with a pole saw, and that went pretty well, but I left the biggest chunk was still up there. So he came up yesterday, I think it was Thursday, came up and helped me guide this the rest of the way down. So I climbed up onto the roof. I trimmed up a little bit more that I could while I was up there, and then we tied a rope to the top of it so that way we could just kind of guide it in the right spot. Nothing is broken, and as you can see behind me, we have a whole pile of wood right here. So everything went well in regards to that. Although, I mean, as you can tell, I no longer have a tree to climb to get back on my roof. But it also means that now we have clearance. But we do need to get the rest of this cleaned up. I need to get the bigger stuff chopped up, so I brought the chainsaw over to chop this stuff up. Not sure where I'm going to put it just yet. We'll figure that out when we get there. And then the smaller stuff we need to take around back. All right, so as we walk around the back, one thing we also did while he was here is I cleaned up the wood pile. This is the old tree that used to be, well, right there. And this tree I took down last year before the roof, and a lot of it was just all piled over here because at the time didn't have anywhere to put it. So while he was here, we loaded up the back of his truck with everything that was here. So now we have access to the back door again, which is great because I think in the near future, and by that I mean springtime, I think we're going to find ourselves in need of replacing the main staircase. And in order to do that, it's got to come down. And in order to do that, I'd like to have another access point to get upstairs, and that's where the back door comes in. So for Halloween, and I'm very thankful for everything that came through this year. It was a great success this year, had a blast, and I'm very happy for that. But always thinking ahead, trying to find bigger, better, safer ways to do things. Now, for example, on the side, everyone has to come out those side steps. Now, 2 years, we've never had a problem. 1,000 people have gone through there, never had a problem. But in the spirit of bigger and better, what I'm thinking is potentially adding this back room to the walkthrough. All right, so here's the backside of that addition. You can see that this mud room is basically just screwed right to the side of it. It's not like it was built all at the same time. So this should be relatively easy to pull off in the grand scheme of things. Basically just pull all the windows out and then just chop it into bits. And then that will end up being the back door. Now that gives us a good 14 feet or so of extra space back here in the yard, which would be great. And from what I gather, from what it looks like this was just put on ground on blocks on the corners. So I don't think there was anything ever dug under this or anything. Obviously it's going to be dead and dirty and no grass and things like that, but I don't think we're going to run any surprises under here next year when we pull this down. But it will be nice to have all of this cleared back out again, which would be cool. And then eventually that side will come off. But when people come out from Halloween, maybe I can build a ramp or something right off of this back porch or this back addition coming right out that door. And then people can walk around this way and then they'll be able to head down the driveway that way. We can add some big corner lights up here or something to really lighten this up back here. That'll be a lot better for people walking and safety wise. So that's the upcoming springtime plan for that. And then again, once this pile is out of here, then I can get this tree down. The tree really doesn't look like it'll be that bad. The hardest part is that roof is all metal and it's very slippery, especially at that pitch. But the mudroom roof is not nearly that bad. And I think if I get a ladder propped up there properly and my pole saw and regular chainsaws, I don't think we're gonna have any problem. We're not gonna have to worry about the power line right there or anything like that. Basically, we're just gonna cut off pretty much right there. We're gonna cut that piece off right there somewhere, drop that out of the way, and then just kind of just chop that down in bits and get it out of there. And then we'll be good. Other than these stupid trees over here, which I haven't figured out what I want to do yet. I'm pretty sure they are actually still on my property. Now, obviously, when we get this out of here, then we can worry more about this. Get some of those overhanging branches gone, that sort of stuff. But yeah, anyway. So that's what the plan is for today, is to work on cleaning up or at least cutting up the wood from up front. Just like that, we have a pile of wood and what's there. Now we do have a whole pile of not saplings, what are they called? Branches. All that stuff over here, but again, until the trailer is ready to go, not much I can do about it. So I'm just going to leave it here for the time being. So that's going to do it for over here at the house. We're going to back home. I'm going to throw some more footage and show you what I was doing at home as well in between all this mess. So it's, you know, a few weeks old at this point, but it'll kind of give you something amusing to watch, I hope. And so yeah, we'll see you back at the house. All right, so before we get into the rest of what we did in the last few weeks, just a quick backstory thing. I ran a Plex media server off my home computer in the house. I have a 5 terabyte SSD external that was just plugged in. The problem with that is you have to have your computer on in order for anyone to access the Plex media library. Generally, I would wake up in the morning, 8, 9 o'clock, turn the power on and just leave it on until 1 o'clock in the morning, turn it back off. Unless somebody was actively watching something, then I would just let it run overnight. But I knew I wanted to put a dedicated server together at some point, somehow, somewhere, that I could let run 24/7 to run Plex on, so I didn't have to worry about doing that sort of thing. Well, so now my original computer that I built, my first real big computer that I built, that was built specifically for gaming at the time, was a 7700K on a 270X gaming ultra, some weird motherboard. That's what I built way back when, and that was running a GTX 1070. 32 gigs of RAM. Like at the time I built it, other than there was a 1080 out there, that was like as top as I could get, and it was pretty gnarly for like a whole month. And then obviously new stuff came out. So that 7700K system was my original build. Well, over time, as I've upgraded my desktop and then as I've built the gaming computer and so forth, I've kind of played musical chairs with the hardware down to Jordan and let him use that for his gaming thing. So my 7700K, when I upgraded to a 10700K, and then I upgraded another 10700K for the gaming one. I took the 7700K, gave that to him. He was using that. Then eventually I upgraded this one here to a 13600K. So I took one of the 10700K backbones and I put that in his system, and I brought the 7700K back here. Same thing has happened with graphics cards. He was using my GTX 1070 because I won Newegg Shuffle a couple times and was able to purchase a 3060 and then a 3070 Ti. So I had the 3070 Ti out here, the 3060 in the house, and he was using my 1070. Well, I wanted that 1070 back for my transcoding for my Plex media server. Not that the 7700K as a CPU wouldn't handle it, but I wanted a card anyway. And I know there's going to be people that are telling me everything I've done about this server build is completely inefficient and wrong. Suck it. Don't care. First foray into this stuff, and we'll go into a little bit more here in a second. But I wasn't trying to build the most efficient, the most power sipping, the most whatever, like that wasn't my goal. I just wanted a server of sorts that I could offload my data on and run a Plex media server on. That's it. Didn't care about anything else. But I also knew I wanted a card, so I traded him my 3070 Ti out of my gaming rig for my 1070 back. I said, here, give me my 1070 back. I'll let you use my 3070 Ti in the meantime. And then I realized, hey, I need a video card. So my gaming desktop out here got an upgrade at the same time to a Gigabyte Gaming OC 4080 graphics card. And again, people will say that I should have just spent the extra on a 4090. Before they do that though, everyone's like, oh, for a couple $100 more, you got double the performance. It's not a couple $100 more, at least when I bought this at the time that I bought this. I bought that card for like $1,200. The cheapest 4090 I could get was 19. So, and that wasn't even a good one. So, I mean, I guess that's kind of a weird problem to have, is not having a good 4090. But the 4090s that were available were also water-cooled variants and things, and I don't have the space that I wanted to try to figure out how to manipulate into there for that. So, yeah, you were looking at $19,200 for a 4090 that I would have wanted to have. So that's more than just a couple $100 difference. It's $700-800 difference in order to bump up to the 4090. So people can tell me all they want about how this is not the most efficient path to do anything, or how value and price per dollar and performance per watt, whatever. I have a 4080. That's it. I don't do even a lot of gaming, but I knew I wanted something that would handle my VR stuff when I do it a little bit better, and also transcoding videos and stuff a little bit better. My 3070 Ti always gave me a headache with Resolve. It just didn't like it, so it would always kind of crash out on Resolve. I don't think it was the card per se, but I will say that it didn't happen to my 3060 in the house ever, and the 4080 has never hiccuped once. Now we also upgraded to so now we got some light over there. Ooh, look at that. So we've got the new Phanteks 360. I don't know what it's called, but the new Phanteks 360 AIO in there now, and I took the 280MP out, put that in the server tower. So the 4080, and we also doubled up and added another 32 gigs. So now we're up to 64 gigs of 6000 DDR5 RAM, and dead quiet. Very happy with that. So all the shuffling meant that I was able to build a server. All right, there it is. It's just kind of chilling down here in the corner. Quiet as can be. Now you can see the RGB from everything inside is on. I did not go back through the BIOS and turn everything off. I just didn't want to have to restart it again after I had everything up and running. It took me a challenge to try to figure out how to get Unraid to run. That was part of my own doing. Getting the video card to work, and a lot of forum perusing, we'll call it, all that fun stuff. But in this server is my 7700K motherboard, 32 gigs of DDR4 RAM. And then we've also got my GTX 1070 in there. It's also running a Silverstone 650 watt power supply, I believe. We're also running 5 16 terabyte Seagate Exos drives in an Unraid configuration with one parity drive, so giving us a 64 terabytes of usable storage space with one drive redundancy. Again, I know people will say that that's not the right RAID to be using. It's less efficient, it's less this, it's better this, it's not as productive as this, it's whatever. This isn't mission critical. I'm not NASA. So right now that's what we're doing. And again, we are running Unraid off of that little thumb drive right there. We also have a 512 gigabyte SSD as a cache drive in there. And so far, everything is working wonderfully. I would like to add one more fan in the front. This door does actually open, and there is actually one fan, hard to see, but there's one fan right there. I want to add another one down here. I had some hiccups with this case that I'm not a fan of. I think I talk about them in the build though, so we'll get into that here in just a second. But otherwise though, operation-wise, is running wonderfully. So that is my server. You can't hear it. The only time you can hear it is if you're really pushing data into those hard drives. You can hear it kind of whirring a little bit. It is not overheating. It's not even close. It's cold air that's coming out of the top of this thing. So it's a great little server. You can see I've just kind of got it stuck under the desk, which is perfectly fine, perfectly happy where it is. So I'm very happy with that. So all in all, that's what I've been up to is, I left work. I concentrated fully on Halloween. Been working a little bit on the house with just cleaning up like the trees and stuff like that around. Planning for next year, though, is in the works, not just for Halloween, but also things like what are we going to do for, a project again. Obviously budget matters. So stuff like electric and straightening on floors and planning and all that stuff. There's going to be a lot to do next year, but that's next year. Right now we're working on winter. Next video, I think I'll just go over some of my lights for Christmas because I actually have them all up yet, but I just kind of want to talk about them because there's not a lot of people that are using these. There's a few, but I just kind of want to go through my experience. Anyway, so we're going to sit back. I'm going to let you go back through time a little bit from, last couple weeks, and we'll go over the building and upgrading not only the desktop here, but also the server build and getting everything up and running. I'm pretty sure I have all that footage somewhere, so we're going to go find that and let you watch that. And then hopefully at the end of that, I don't repeat myself too much, and yeah. So enjoy that, and I'll be back here in a second. All right, so first things first, this is my desktop computer, the inside of it. I don't know if you're able to hear this, but this is that Phanteks 280 cooler. I forget exactly what it's called. Glacier One 280 MP. But if you listen to this fan, nothing. But this one, you can kind of hear how it has a little bit of a click to it when it first kicks on that way. That doesn't stop once this thing is fully going. So that's kind of an interesting trick. I don't know exactly what's causing that, but I think it's just physically in there. Maybe it's just the way it's oriented. I don't know. But here is the computer itself. You can see down here we've actually got this, what's that called? I guess it's a GPU anti-support bracket. So we will have to move that around a little bit. But it's actually pretty easy to get to. You've got a little thumb screw on this side. And then there's actually a little gated slot. So there's a little rubberized foot down here that moves around. Unfortunately, this doesn't come out without getting these screws out. And of course, guess where my screwdrivers are? Not here, which is awesome. So let me see if I can't find a small screwdriver to get that out and undo the thumb screws that are holding my 3080 in place. Nope, this is a 3070 Ti. We're gonna get that guy out of there. We also have to find a home for our second M.2 drive. And we're just gonna take this off. I don't remember where I bought this from. I think this was an Amazon purchase. It is from Deepcool, and so it's sort of name brand. And then this just slides out like this. So on the back of this, you can see down here we've got this little tab, and you can see on this side we've got these notches. So this slides up, slot it into a notch, and then your GPU is resting on this. So that's an adjustable height thing. That's what we were using. It does have LEDs in it, and it will plug into your regular header, so it will match whatever your motherboard colors are. And then this is just a double-sided taped kind of doohickey on there. Let's take off our dual 8-pin here. You never think about how hard these are to turn until you're trying to grip something that's not even a 1/4 inch around. So we're going to set them up here. We're going to reach down here, find our... we're going to need to use our screwdriver again just to pop our GPU release, like so. There we go. And there it is, our Asus Tough Gaming 3070 Ti. Little dusty. There, less dusty. So again, this is going to go into Jordan's rig. And the other one is going to fit in here. Now, fortunately, we have all the space in the world in this P500 case to fit that 4080 in. Let's get this 3070 boxed back up. This is also the reason why I always hold on to all my packaging, because it sure does make it easier, especially when you're doing things like this and you're trying to help out others by paying it forward. Speaking of paying it forward, if somebody wanted to swap me a 4090 for my 4080, I wouldn't say no, just saying. Let's grab our new memory kit. And we're going to slap that sucker in there real quick. And again, that's what this is just this regular stuff right here. So yeah, DDR5 6000 is what we've got on these suckers right here. And I think oh, there we go. Not quite as fancy as my Royal was, but still quite usable. Satisfying click. There we go. We're upgraded to a full 64 gigs of RAM now. That's good. Now, M.2 wise. There is an M.2 slot right here. However, that is going to be behind the motherboard. Do I want to mess with that? And more importantly, do I have the standoff for it? Let's see. This is my Z790. Let's grab the box for that. One thing I am not seeing in this box, I lied. It's right here. That right there is our M.2 SSD standoff. All right, so let's grab our new SSD. Right there, our Evo Plus. I don't know if this is one that was affected by such controversy in regards to storage space and drive life and whatever else it was that people were complaining about. I really don't remember. But in my case, I just wanted another 2 terabytes of storage. This computer runs on a single 1 terabyte hard drive right now for operating system and most games. And it has an extra SSD drive on the backside that's, I think, a 2 terabyte. But let's see, this is going to go in here like so. So that hole right there. Okay, there we go. And then we have the little clip down here that actually locks our SSD into place. There we go. So now our M.2's in there. Perfect. We are making progress. Now for the big boy. Let's not forget to peel all the peels. God, this thing is massive. Absolutely massive. But before we put that graphics card in, we need to find another power supply cable. Again, this is why I keep all of my boxes. Back we go with the box. Now obviously we do have to route this alongside it, so we're going to have to shift the case around a little bit. Let's move our expensive graphics card back to the desk so it's out of the harm's way here. Now again, this all gets redone anyway because we are getting the new cooler put in at some point, but for now we've got our double sets of, there we go, our double sets of cables for our adapter. Now the other thing we have to do is we can play with these cables once we've got the card in. Okay, Jesus, that thing's huge.
Really? Nothing.
Now this would come in really handy having a magnetic screwdriver. Hey Linus, LTT screwdriver, just saying. Help a fellow out, right? Here is our 12 power connector, or 12 volt high power connector, I should say. You know, the thing that catches fire for everybody. We don't want to bend it too much. We do have plenty of room on this case, which is great. I heard a click. See if we can't get any more of these back into the hole they came out from to make this look at least a little cleaner. And if you remember this thing, part of the reason I bought this particular one is to help cover that connector up behind you. All right, I think, by golly jeepers, I think we got it. So shout out to Disc Tech, who gave me a $10 off coupon and a pen to go along with my 80 terabytes worth of hard drives, which are very bubbly wrapped. All right, so far as drives go, Seagate Exos X16 16 terabyte drives. Now you may notice that these don't have the big green labels. That's because these are factory recertified or recertified by somebody's factory. So we're gonna give them a shot because I got a budget, yo. All right, so that's that. Let's get these things loaded into these drive caddies. Just a real quick minor issue. We cannot put our 5th drive in without taking the cage out. Kind of a poor oversight. Like, it's made to come down here, but you can't remove the 5th drive tray until you take this back out. So Yeah, a little bit of an oversight there, Fractal, thanks. But I'm going to go ahead and get that done, and then I got to charge my phone up because it's almost dead. All right, so we're ready to continue our server build. So we've got the chassis here. We've got the 7700K in here with my RAM and everything. No graphics card yet. We're not going to put the 3070 Ti in here. That's going to Jordan, but it's just kind of here as a placeholder. The 7700K for now is going to be fine. It's got integrated graphics. It'll be fine for what very limited use it's going to see, and I don't think I'm going to have this thing up and running just yet anyway. Now this cooler is also not going in this case. The power supply may though, it's right there. Silverstone 80 plus gold, 550 watts is going to be plenty. I didn't think to myself, now the reason I bought that one, just as a side note, is because it has 8 SATA connections for drives. I have 5 drives down here and then the potential to add more. Well, it would have been nice to have all those things, but I do also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 SATA connections right here on the motherboard itself. So I've got 6 drive connections on the motherboard. I've got 5 drives, 6 connections. We should be great. And then I bought that. And I forgot that over on my shelf I have a EVGA 600 watt power supply, which has, I believe, 6 SATA connections on it. So I could have just used that this entire time. But I didn't. So we're going to go ahead and get the power supply in here. The one thing with this case, there's plenty of room in the back, but there's no shroud on the bottom or anything like that. They actually make this case with a side panel that's clear, a see-through side panel, windowed side panel, but no shroud down here to hide the spaghetti mess that you're going to have in your power supply. I don't know why they would do that, but either way. I'm going to go ahead and get the power supply in here, shove all the cables into the back, and get this thing opened up and get some power wires run for everything, including some spare cables for the graphics card when we do put it in here. Now the one thing with the cooler though, this 360 is not coming into this case. That's going over there into my desktop on the wall. So we're going to take the 280 out of there, put that over here. The 360 D30 is going to go into there, and then we'll have a cooler here. But I do have to shut down my other computer and get the cooler out, and then figure out how we're going to do it over here and all that fun stuff. So guess I'm going to go shut that down, and we'll bring that case over here and start dissecting that one alongside this one. All right, so we've got both systems side by side here. We do need to take out the 280. We're going to take out a couple of the screws from the top. Then we also need to remove our CPU cooler itself. And there we go. Nice die spread when it comes to the thermal paste. I like to see it. So let me take the rest of the cooler all the way out. We've got to get it cleaned off of its thermal paste anyway. So let's take out the 2 middle screws, and then we'll work on the end screws to get the entire cooler out. We're barely hanging on by a thread here. Let me get another one in on this side. There we go. I think we finally got our 280 in place. However, there is not much RAM clearance, to the point where there is not enough RAM clearance to remove the RAM without removing your radiator. Anyway, onward we go to mounting our mounting bracket. All right, so we have our cooler in place. We're gonna go ahead and slap some thermal paste on this sucker and get it in place, just like so. Let's see, CPU fan. It is gonna be a trick getting things plugged in with the cooler up there. All right, should be solid. All right, we're good there. So I think we're actually just going to leave this off, put it back in the box for now. It's just extra wiring you don't have to worry about. So that's there. All right, so that was the fun of putting a 280 in this thing. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to go rest off camera, and I'm going to get this power supply wired up and get everything set. And then we're going to get the 380 over in mine, or the 360 over there. But yeah, I just wanted to show you that's the fun that I've had trying to put a 280 in this thing. That's the only place I could put it. All right, so now server on the left, gaming on the right. You can see we are now fully wired. Did run into a couple things that, like for example, the halos, the 140 halos from Phanteks, they plug into an RGB header on your motherboard, which this motherboard doesn't have. So no lights there. I'm sure there's an adapter somewhere or whatever, but I didn't feel like looking for it. So we're just foregoing the lights as far as that goes. Cable management, sporadic at best, mainly because we're not using a modular power supply. And we do have all the SATA cables coming off of the motherboard and going in that way. I kind of wish this one was flipped upside down, but whatever, doesn't really matter. They all go where they are. And then that cord on the bottom there is actually the GPU cord. So again, I have not slotted one in. I don't think I'm going to use one just yet. I do have onboard video for this, so I think we're good on this computer. It is ready to boot and hopefully post. We'll do that here in a few minutes. But first, I'm going to get this one fired up with my 360 rad and get that thing all put back together with my nice shiny, whatever this thing is, 360 D30, which, I mean, if we go by the box, it should totally fit. So let me get the server out of the way so I can lay this down and work on it and get that together. And once that's together, then we'll finally start booting around to some stuff. Mine should just boot right up and put back in the corner, and then we can move over and play with the server, throw some Unraid on it, see what it looks like. All right, well, pardon the mess, but we do have power. We've got light. And I've shut down and restarted. That's random. Oh, there we go. Now we got power to the computer here. We didn't have a signal for a minute there. Oh, there we go. So we do have blue. Everything did match there. Now the fans are spinning at a good clip. The refresh rate on my phone makes it look like they're not moving, but they are. But I think we have to go through and figure out why those two over there are not lit up. I might have missed a connector. But either way, we are running again. So cool. That part's done. Anyway, I'll mess with this later. Let's go get this server plugged in over next to me and see what happens when we plug an Unraid USB into it. I want to see if this thing boots up at all. As it turns out, I forgot to actually install Unraid on the USB drive. I never formatted it or ran it properly. So we've installed it and it now seems to be working, which is awesome. And well, now we're just waiting. All right, so I just wanted to give a quick update before I go to bed. That's not the right button. I'm still running into issues with I can't purchase or even get a trial key because I have a network issue. All right, so a follow-up to my follow-up from last night. I know I was intending to end this video like 3 times ago. It's 11 o'clock in the morning. I just came out about a half hour ago. And I think I'm good. So when I was doing a lot of research, I mean, this is an onboard Intel Gigabit network adapter. And I don't know which model it is. I don't know if I can see on the side. I haven't looked. But one of the things that I kept coming back in all the forums were mentioning renaming your network.cfg file and your rules.cfg file in your config folder on your thumb drive. Now, Unraid runs on a flash drive, right? So that's where the operating system runs. It's kind of like Linux that way. And your files and your folders are saved right there as far as the OS goes. So people had constantly mentioned that because when it's writing its config files, it's writing them to that. So they say shut your server down, pull the card out or the USB stick, put it in your regular computer, go in and just rename those files, add .old to the end, which will render them, you know, unusable as far as an OS file goes. And it will recreate a new config or network.cfg and rules.cfg upon next boot. Now, I hadn't done that yet, because in my mind, I'm thinking that can't be it because I haven't gotten that far yet. But what didn't dawn on me until I tried it, and it did work, by the way, spoiler alert, I figured that when I first turned this on, I didn't have the network cable plugged in. And I think that's what screwed me up. I think it actually did write those files like that. And then I plugged the thing, like I think something got hosed up there. So I did do the whole renaming the network.cfg file. I didn't have a rules.cfg file as of yet, but the config.cfg I did. So I renamed it, rebooted it, and now you can tell, maybe, I no longer have a network error here. I wonder if I can go to apps and install the community. Hey, look at that. We have a network. Yay! We haven't done anything with the discs or anything, but we do have them all down here. We've got our 5, right down here, 5 healthy regular drives, and we can throw a parity drive on here, you know, so 1, and then we can throw 2, 3, 4, 5. So just like that, we've got our drive assignments. So we have 4 16 terabyte drives, so 64 terabytes of usable hard drive space, as well as a 16 terabyte parity backup, you know, regular drive. And then down here we can add our cache drive with our SSD, just like so. Oh, that's the other thing I need to do is see if we can access. Yay! We can access it from our network. I'm going to remote into my desktop from home and see if we can also do the same from there. Yes. So we can continue doing this from inside. So I can go ahead and unplug my monitor and just clear out my corner here, slide the computer back into there and call it good. But I don't need to be here anymore for configuration. Anyway, I'm going to fire up my trial and go start playing from this from inside. That way I don't have to sit out here. Alrighty. Well, thanks for tuning in. That was probably longer than I expected it to be. I just figured I would kind of catch you all up in one fell swoop with everything that's been going on. Again, waiting on finding a new job, it's never as easy as you hope it's going to be, but that's what we are working on, is finding employment. Hopefully something comes up soon, but everything else is ready to go. Christmas is all set. I've got everything ready. But yeah, kind of need to start paying some bills soon. So yep, I'm going to go back and do some more of that while you guys enjoy the rest of your time. And hopefully you're going to have a great Thanksgiving, because it's right around the corner. And I should probably go get some groceries. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.